All of humanity has been deceived about knowledge. All of humanity has been deceived about knowledge. This deception is a conspiracy against humankind. All of this knowledge must be wiped clean and discarded. Only then can you obtain the kind of knowledge that is illuminated by the experience of existence and in which the fire of the soul is seen. Such transformation is impossible with ragged, borrowed knowledge. Ragged knowledge is not bright at all. It is like a dark house with unlit lamps. Yet people continue to persuade and explain to one another that the lamp is lit. And after hearing that repeated over and over, we too begin to claim that the lamp is lit. For somewhere deep inside there is fear. Others say that if you do not see the lamp shining, you will go to hell. They may see the lamp shining, and gradually, bit by bit, you begin to see it too. Once upon a time, there was a great king. One morning, a mysterious stranger came and said to him, "Your Majesty, you have now conquered the entire earth, so the clothing of ordinary men is unworthy of you. I will bring you the garments of the gods." The king's mind was filled with greed. His intellect doubted even the existence of the gods, yet he was tempted because he thought that perhaps there were gods somewhere, and if their clothing were brought to him, he would be the first in human history to wear the garments of the gods. And how could this man deceive him? He was a great emperor, surrounded by billions and trillions of rupees. Even if this man demanded 10 or 50,000 rupees, it would not matter. The king asked, "Very well, what is your price?" The stranger replied, "It will cost at least 100,000 rupees, because to approach the gods one must pay a huge bribe. Not only do men accept bribes, but the gods are cunning. They also demand bribes, and this man will agree to a small sum. He is poor. But the gods will not accept a small amount. Only if it is a vast sum will they consider it. Otherwise, they won't even look. So it is very difficult, but at least 10 million rupees must be paid." The king said, "All right, no problem, but remember, if you deceive me in this way, you shall lose your life. And from this day forward, guards will be posted around your house." 100,000 rupees was handed over to the stranger, and the king's palace was placed under guard. All the neighbors were astonished and stunned. They could not believe it. They wondered, where are the gods? Where is their heaven? This man seems to go nowhere at all. The king remained indoors and told everyone, "In 6 months I will show you the garments of the gods." Everyone was skeptical, but the king did not care, for the stranger was under the watch of armed guards, bare-chested. He could not escape. He could not deceive. Yet this man was far more clever than the king. After 6 months, he emerged from the palace with a very beautiful box and said to the guards, "Let me go to the palace. Today is the day of delivery. The garments have arrived." The entire capital gathered. Kings and emperors from afar came to see. A grand celebration was held. The stranger entered the court with his box, leaving no room for any doubt. He carried the box and set it down. Then he opened its lid, reached inside, pulled out his empty hand and said to the king, "Receive this folding cloth." The king looked and said, "I cannot see any folding cloth. Your hand is empty." Immediately the stranger replied, "Allow me to remind your majesty, the gods have said that only a person born of his own true father can see these folding cloths and garments. Now, your majesty, can you see the folding cloth?" The king answered, "Of course I can see it." There was no folding cloth there. The stranger's hand was empty. But all the courtiers began to applaud. They too could not see the folding cloth, yet they all began to exclaim, "We have never seen such beautiful folding cloths. This folding cloth is very beautiful, unique, marvelous. No one has ever seen a folding cloth like this." Individual uniqueness, embracing direct experience. When all the courtiers began to proclaim that the folding cloth was beautiful, the king found himself in a predicament. Then someone declared, "Now remove your majesty's own folding cloth and put on this folding cloth instead." The king removed his own folding cloth and donned the non-existent one. If it had only been a matter of an accessory, perhaps it might have been acceptable. But the king soon found himself in deep trouble. First his cloak was removed, then his shirt, and finally he had to strip off his remaining garments. Now the king was completely naked, yet all the courtiers shouted, "What beautiful clothes! Wonderful! We have never seen such splendid garments!" Every member of the court had to shout these praises loudly, for otherwise others might question whether he was truly born of his proper father. And when the entire crowd clamored about the clothes, each person began to think that either something was wrong with their eyes, or else that they alone were mistaken about their lineage. When everyone agrees, they must be right. This is democracy. When many agree, they cannot all be wrong. Hence, if one believes they are the only one mistaken, and if they remain silent, the rest will assume that person is blind. The king became fearful. Should he remove the last piece of his undergarments? On one hand, he dreaded that the entire court would see him utterly naked. On the other, he feared that if the world learned that he was not born of his true father, great difficulties would follow. Perhaps it would be better to remain naked. That was the great dilemma. If he fell on one side, his reservoir would be exposed. If he fell on the other, he would be likened to a gutter. In the end, it seemed best to accept being naked. At least his true father would be saved and his court preserved. He thought, everyone will see themselves naked, nothing else. If others see clothes, then they can truly see them, and only I am mistaken, and that would create unnecessary complications. So he discarded his last undergarment and stood there, completely naked. Then someone exclaimed, "Oh, your majesty, the garments of the gods have descended upon the world for the first time. You should have a grand procession and parade around the city on a chariot." The king became terribly frightened, yet now he had no way out. When people make a mistake at the first step, it becomes very difficult to stop at any later stage, and it is hard to go back. If one is not virtuous from the beginning, one will continue to sink deeper into hypocrisy at later stages. It becomes difficult to retrace one's steps because each stage is intertwined with the next. Thus the king was trapped. He could not refuse. He was paraded in a chariot through the city. Perhaps you too have been there, for many in that city were present. People saw the procession, and so you might have been there praising the clothes. No one wished to miss the opportunity. Everyone loudly praised the garments as beautiful. Only one child in the crowd, sitting on his father's shoulders, said, "Dad, it seems the king is naked." His father replied, "Fool, be quiet. You are too young, you lack experience. When you grow older, you too will see the clothes. I can see the clothes." Sometimes children speak the truth, but the old dismiss them, for the experienced are entrenched in their ways. And experience is a dangerous thing. Because of his experience, the father said, "Be quiet. When you become experienced, you will see the clothes. We all can see the clothes. Do you think we are crazy?" Sometimes children say, "We cannot see God in the statue." Then the old reply, "Be quiet. We can see God. Rama is there. When you become experienced, you too will see him." People are caught in a cosmic deception. And when everyone is ensnared in the same deception, it becomes hard to see the truth. You must discern whether the garments of knowledge, the clothes you think you wear, are truly there, or whether you stand naked in invisible clothes. You must examine each thought by asking, "Do I truly know this?" If you do not know, then be ready to descend into hell rather than clinging to this ragged, borrowed knowledge. The first condition for authenticity is that one must admit what one does not know. Otherwise, it becomes the beginning of hypocrisy. Typically, we cannot perceive the grand deceptions. We only notice the minor ones. If someone deceives you out of a few rupees, you take note. But if someone stands with hands clasped before a stone statue and exclaims, "Oh God, oh heaven," fully aware that the statue is merely stone and that there is no God or heaven there, then such a person seems, paradoxically, to embody authenticity and true religiosity. There is hardly any greater deceiver or hypocrite in the world than that. That person is absolutely deceitful, speaking utter falsehoods. They feel nothing deep within. Yet that person cannot muster the courage to understand what they are truly saying or doing. A true religious person is one who recognizes what they know and what they do not know. That recognition is the first step toward becoming truly religious. A religious person is not one who claims to know God and the soul, who asserts that they have seen heaven and hell. A religious person is one who admits, "I do not know anything, I am utterly ignorant. I have no knowledge. I do not even know myself. So how can I claim to know existence? I do not even know the stone lying before my house. How can I say that I understand the sacred? Life is profoundly mysterious, beyond knowing. I know nothing. I am absolutely ignorant." If you have the courage to be ignorant, to accept your ignorance, then you can begin the journey toward liberating yourself from the entanglement of your thoughts. Without that, you cannot even begin. Thus, one must understand we are profoundly ignorant, we know nothing. And whatever it is that we seemingly know is entirely false, borrowed, and outdated. It is like the difference between a well and a pond. If you wish to create a well in your life, you must free yourself from the illusion of the pond. Now a question arises. What is my opinion of J. Krishnamurti's teachings? I have no opinion on that. First, because I do not know Krishnamurti. Secondly, because if, while I speak, you compare my words with those of another, someone you favor or dislike, then you will not truly be able to listen to me. You will waste time in comparison. It is absolutely impossible for two people's words to be exactly alike, for every person is unique. Two leaves are never identical, two stones are never identical. Perhaps there might be similarities in some words or superficial resemblances in certain expressions, but every individual in the world is distinct and separate, to the point where nothing can be exactly the same. If you begin to compare what I say with the Gita, or with Krishnamurti, or with Ramakrishna, or with Mahavira, then you will never be able to truly listen to me, for these references will create so much interference that my words will never reach you directly. There will be no direct connection between you and me. Therefore, I do not know, but my suggestion is that there is no need to compare and seek similarities. Such comparisons are futile, meaningless. They do not help anyone. Yet, a common habit in our lives is to compare. We cannot evaluate anything without comparing it. Whenever we compare, mistakes begin. If we compare a trumpet flower to a rose, then errors arise. A trumpet flower is a trumpet flower, and a rose is a rose, and wildflowers are wildflowers. A rose is neither superior nor inferior to a wildflower. Each flower lives in its own uniqueness. Each flower possesses its own authenticity. No flower is lower or higher. No flower is inherently equal or unequal. Each person is who they are, unlike anyone else. If this individuality of everything, its inherent personality, its uniqueness, begins to appear to us, then we will cease comparing. But we are in the habit of comparison, even comparing children with each other. We say, "Look, that child has gone further while you are left behind." We are unfair to one child because that child is that child and you are you. There is no basis for comparing two people. They are entirely different. They are completely distinct in their uniqueness and authenticity. They have no direct relationship to one another. We have a habit of comparison. Our educational system teaches comparison, and our mode of thinking includes comparison. Without comparison, we cannot evaluate. And the result is that we do not truly understand any person or any idea directly. Many things come in between. So I will simply say this. I do not know how many similarities or differences there are between me and J. Krishnamurti. I have not compared. And I ask you also not to compare. Do not compare me with anyone, nor compare any person with any other. This habit of comparison persists even between Mahavira and the Buddha. There are said to be similarities. Between Christ and Muhammad, there are alleged resemblances. And between Krishna and Rama, some claim similarities. This is all nonsense. There is no question of sameness or difference, for each person is themselves and has no inherent relation with another. Each exists in their own right. Even saying they are different is absurd, because if there is difference, then the matter of difference becomes irrelevant. Every individual is unique, simply themselves. In this world, no two people are identical and no two events ever repeat. There is nothing in life that truly repeats. Life continuously creates uniqueness. Therefore, there is no need to compare or judge. If you are listening to Krishnamurti, you must understand him directly. If you are listening to me, you must hear me directly. If you listen to your neighbor, you must listen to them directly. If you listen to your spouse, you must hear her directly. When a third party interferes, conflicts and quarrels begin. There is no need for an intermediary. Our contact and communication must be immediate and direct. If I stand before a rose and recall the flowers I saw yesterday, and if I begin to think about how similar this rose is to those other flowers, then my observation of this rose will be halted. One thing is certain, the shadow of those other flowers interposed between will prevent you from truly seeing this flower. And if I want to see the flower that is right here before me, then I must forget all the other flowers I have seen. Bringing them into the picture is unfair to this rose. There is no need to bring the memory of that flower along, for otherwise tomorrow, when admiring some other flower, this one might again be interposed. So do not bring Krishnamurti into this. And do not think that because you listen to me, you can mix my words with someone else's, for that would be unfair to that person. Look straight at life. Do not insert anyone in between. No one is equal or unequal. Everyone simply is who they are. And I want everyone to become just that, themselves. Everyone should be as they truly are. This is what I consider the fundamental principle of life. Yet until now, we have never been able to accept that. Humanity has never been ready to accept each individual as they are. We constantly try to shape people into someone else. We tell someone, become like Mahavira, like the Buddha, like Gandhi. This is a direct insult to the individuality of each person. When we say to someone, become like Gandhi, we are insulting that person. For they were born to be themselves, not a copy of someone else. They have the right only to be themselves, not to become a replica. That is an affront to the individual. So I am not saying that everyone must become like everyone else. I am simply saying that each person must become exactly who they are. Only then can the world become a marvelous and beautiful place. Until now, we have only tried to organize things so that everyone becomes like someone else. That is why we compare, we think, and we search. There is no need to do this. Thinking in this way is absolutely unnecessary.